Hello and welcome to episode 12 of the Conveyancing Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. I am Matthew and I'm joined today by my co-host Thomas. How are you, Thomas?
I'm fine. Number 12, I do believe. This is our 12th podcast now, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're all home and staying safe.
Yeah, still, it's probably our 8th podcast in lockdown, if not more. Please subscribe to get more news like this, to make sure that you tune in every time we do one of these. And there are many ways which you can subscribe to the podcast through YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Anchor FM, Spotify, Google Podcasts. And a disclaimer, we are not offering legal advice, just an overview of the conveyancing news. So
with that, let's get cracking, ladies and gentlemen. So to start off today, this week's news and podcast, we will start with the first article that is from the Law Society Gazette, and it says as follows: Conveyancers ask Sunak for furlough flexibility. So we've previously read through this article, of course, and what it is talking about is the Law Society has asked for more flexibility in the government's coronavirus job retention scheme, or the furlough scheme, so that it can help conveyancers get their housing market back on its feet.
Right
there's
now, a lot of industry bodies that are calling out for this, and it's been backed by the Law Society. Those bodies being the Conveyancing Association, Society of Licensed Conveyancers, Bold Legal Group, and Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyors. Yeah,
so I believe one of the things they're asking for was the ability... it is this one. Sorry, I'm a little lost. So one thing that they were asking for in terms of flexibility was the ability to allow customers, to allow workers to come back in to the office even every now and then, and for their furlough to be sort of disactivated, I guess, and then reactivated once they came back home for instance.
It's more flexibility. Apparently, at the moment, you can only switch stuff on a 3-week basis. So, like, if you furlough somebody, you can't have them back again for 3 weeks. And they're saying that this is quite difficult because different staff have different skills. So somebody that's furloughed might need to come in on a more regular basis.
Yeah.
It does seem that it should be at the discretion of the employer, but obviously there's not enough flexibility in the scheme.
Seems like there isn't, no. Oh, well, that's at least what we're hearing from these unhappy solicitors or unhappy firms. Regardless, it doesn't seem unreasonable, and we can only hope for the best for these.
Yeah, they're saying, I mean, it's negatively affecting the market and the service that's being given to the customer. Anyway, that is interesting. I mean, we'll have to come back to that one to see what they decide on that.
Definitely. We'll keep you up to date, and we'll obviously, well, if we can, we'll be able to tell you if... regardless, sorry. Let's move on with the next article. So this article is also from the Law Society Gazette, and it is talking about tenants who could lose access to a duty solicitor in eviction cases. This one is, it's a little sad. It's talking about how tenants who are possibly going to be evicted from the houses they are renting, I'm guessing, right? Renting or just there temporarily, they are possibly going to be evicted, and they might not be able to get help from a duty solicitor. Because I believe it's just because they might not be able to get a hold of them because of schedules or other reasons. Sorry. Regardless.
Yeah, the courts have been suspended for 90 days due to the virus, I think, and also to help people who might have otherwise been evicted. So basically, nobody's being evicted at the moment, and they're saying that when the courts reopen on the 25th of June, there may not be like duty solicitors available. I'm not sure whether that's because they'll still be under lockdown or if there's like a shortage. It doesn't really say, but they are urging anybody who has a hearing at that time to go ahead and get a legal aid lawyer to help them, to go to a solicitor firm that specialises in legal aid.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, I mean, because a duty solicitor is one that just hangs around the court and he's just given to whoever needs one at a time. So I don't know why there wouldn't be any available.
Does seem very strange, doesn't it? But if it's the case, if it seems like it might be what's going to happen, because it's not something that's happening just yet, is it? Because they are going to be, when are they reopening?
The thing is, it's like this this solicitor, Sue James, says here that the trouble is that the most vulnerable people probably aren't organised enough to organise a legal aid solicitor in time. That's what they're saying, is the duty solicitor is basically the last resort for most people. So it's sort of, how can they open the court when there aren't any duty solicitors?
Yeah. Hopefully there are duty solicitors when they are needed, though. I mean, wasn't this article
as well, weren't they? They were saying that,
yeah, exactly.
They might conduct some of the hearings by telephone or Skype.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. And they say that the cases will be listed at 30-minute intervals too. Yeah, I mean, this would probably be the ideal thing. It would probably solve the problem of low amounts of duty solicitors available by making it more accessible for them to be able to do their job without any risk of contamination or anything like that. That's good, but it's not something that's been accepted yet, is it? So we'll have to wait and see what they say about it.
They're saying here that there's a lack of computers in the courts that are able to do these remote hearings. Guess they'll need to buy some new gear and fit it into the courtrooms.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully that isn't too hard. It shouldn't be. Alrighty, well, moving on from the last article, this next article is from the Daily Mail, and it is about the property market. So as we all know, the property market was given the green light back 2 weeks ago, I do believe, when we covered it, basically saying go, 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 and sell, 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 buy, buy, buy. Well, one leading estate agent, the estate agent Knight Frank, has forecast that the house price will fall, or the house prices will fall by 7%, while the Bank of England predicts a 16% decline, which is more than double what Knight Frank has forecast. So it's a bit strange. Where do they get their numbers? Where do they get this percentage? Both of them, really. The
Bank of England, I'd be more inclined to believe, because they are supposed to be the big guys. But the estate agents certainly have a lot of more data about the housing market, don't they?
Yeah.
I mean, because they're doing the viewings, and they got a handle on who's coming in with how much money and what price ranges they're looking at in the market. But I guess we haven't really seen what's going to happen yet.
No, I mean, the price market is still trying to get back up on its feet. And I do believe it was at least a month ago now, we covered an article that said that the maximum it would probably drop was going to be around 20%. So in my opinion, it's very strange, yet it's interesting how they've come up with a 7% and not 16 or 20 or 25. So it's just a question of waiting and seeing.
Yeah, this one's interesting. It says strategic buyers sense that the COVID shock could trigger big price reductions and that the post-lockdown market will be a buyer's one. Kind of like buyers will be in control because they'll be expecting reductions. They'll be looking around for good prices and I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean the sellers have to go along with it, but
no,
it depends how desperate people are to sell at the end of the day.
I mean, in a way, the only way COVID-19 could affect the housing market is obviously by lowering the prices, but only because people won't have the money to do it. If a buyer did have the money to do it and he had way more than what was needed to do it, then you shouldn't really have a reason to, put your price as low as he might want it.
This chart's quite interesting from the Halifax. It shows that even with the big drop, that the house prices are still better than they were like a year ago.
Yeah.
Although they are heading down. But I mean, if we get a rebound, it should sort of even itself out, I would think. Oh, sorry.
Oh, no. Don't spoil it. Right, well,
the wrong thing.
The next one is from Evening Standard, Homes and Property. And it says as follows. So the Nationwide Bank, or was it a
building
society? Yeah, a building society. So the Nationwide Building Society has pledged to not repossess. So homeowners whose finances are hit or have been hit by the coronavirus can stay in homes for 12 months. This is good because, as we've seen before, we've seen other banks that give you I think it's maximum 3 months holiday, mortgage holiday, and then they lower your credit rating sometimes, which isn't a very good idea. Well, isn't very good, I mean, for the person who is being affected. Here they will give you an entire 12 months, and I do believe they have a 5-point support package to help protect the homes and finances of those who have been hit hard. Their 5 points go as follows. We might dive a bit into them in a minute. So the first one is no mortgage member will lose the property in which they live in if they are in arrears as a result of COVID-19, and, well, if they work with the society to get their finances back on track. The second one says that the flexibility for customers in meeting their mortgage payments where they can. So they will be allowing customers to pay the mortgage whenever they can. It's very flexible. It's very nice. It also says that this could include temporarily moving to interest-only payments so that it minimizes the long-term impact on their finances. So they are keeping into account a lot the people themselves. It's very nice of them, to be honest. The third one says that the new 3-month mortgage payment breaks for those who are still in a financial difficulty due to the COVID-19. So it's the same as before, like the other banks, isn't it, Matthew? It's like they offer.
It's saying that in addition to the original 3-month mortgage holiday, they're offering another one, so that gives you up to 6 months of support. But obviously, following an assessment, so like you have to be assessed, your finances have to be assessed, and you have to be eligible.
Yeah.
The thing is, I mean, if you go in and you say, I've been furloughed and I'm probably going to lose my job at the end of being furloughed, and the bank are going to be, they're going to be like, oh yeah, we'll give you 6 months of not paying any mortgage. But then after that, if you come in and say, well, I still haven't got a job, they're just going to repossess your house, no?
That's true. I mean,
kind of where does it leave you? Except I suppose it gives you 6 months to carry on living in your house before they repossess.
in the event that you were able to find a job in 6 months, they're not exactly asking you to pay during those 6 months at all. So it would be if you were to manage to get a job by the second month, possibly, and save all that money up, being very smart about it.
It does
you'd
give
have
you
enough.
a bit of time to find a job, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. At least the Nationwide, if they do it, maybe others will follow suit.
Yeah, hopefully. It would definitely be fantastic, wouldn't it? But it all comes down to how people are actually affected, because they can say things, but it might not actually be what they do after. Like we saw with the other banks with the 3-month holiday, suddenly people were saying that their credit rating was, or the credit score, I mean, was going down and such. Regardless, let's move on to the next article, which is from the Property Wire, and it says as follows. So, how money laundering has changed in the digital age. We're going to briefly go over this just to sort of talk to you all about how, before it used to be done through the housing market, through the purchase of a house, I do believe. And now we have many ways because of how the internet has risen exponentially in popularity and in use.
Yeah, it's like Britain is becoming a cashless society. There's more like money's moving faster, electronically, online, using smartphones and stuff. Because, this is the Property Wire magazine, and I thought it would be saying, solicitors need to be careful, checking for money laundering, but it seems the money launderers have moved to these other methods that they've listed here. The first one, is cryptocurrency, obviously, because cryptocurrencies are kind of untrackable. So you could just buy a load of cryptocurrency and then sell it again, and then no one would be able to trace that money back. And then there's social media. Not really sure. I guess buying luxury items, it says, but I don't see how you launder your money through social media, because it says here, fake money making schemes.
Such as pyramid schemes.
Yeah, but it still doesn't, Bitcoin, it cleans your money, doesn't it? Because you sell it, you buy Bitcoin and you sell it, so you've cleaned it. Whereas social media, if you're investing in social media, maybe the social media companies are quite irresponsible. They're not being made to do any sort of money laundering checks. And then number 3 is these online games with virtual currencies. So I suppose these companies might be dodgy as well, in that gangsters or whatever, people looking to launder money, can just buy a load of virtual credit in these online games and then somehow sell them again. So the game companies are really the ones that are laundering the money in that case. Then online gambling, that is online games. Gambling games. Same kind of thing. But yeah, so, and the gig economy. So, ghost rides on app-based. I see. So, if you're an Uber driver, you could pretend that you got the money through. You could register as an Uber driver and drive around people who don't exist.
Oh.
And then just give yourself the money. So if somebody comes and says, this money's stolen, you can say, well, the guy I drove gave me the money or something.
Yeah.
But really, it's
Not true. Yeah.
So if you're looking to launder any money, those are the 5 top ways at the moment.
If you're looking to make some cash during COVID-19, take it off other people. This next one also comes from the Property Wire, and it is talking about landlords who should get a stamp duty surcharge exemption.
Yeah, we saw a similar one before.
Yeah.
There always seems to be some group of people calling for a stamp duty holiday or like a reduction in stamp duty. I mean, I'm all for abolishing it, but if it should be across the board. I mean, this woman, Mary Ann Bowring, is the managing director at property management firm Ringley Group. She's saying that buy-to-let investors shouldn't have to pay extra stamp duty on their second properties to encourage a growth in the UK housing market. I think that charge is there to discourage people from owning multiple properties, thus giving more of a chance to the first-time buyers to get on the property ladder.
Yeah.
So I'm not really for this, although I shouldn't be biased. We are just reporting the news, but there always seems to be someone calling for it, and it never happens. So I imagine in this case, it isn't going to happen.
Most likely not.
So, move on.
Alrighty. Next one is from Legal Futures, market intelligence for law firms of the future. So this one is talking about how conveyancing Corona Coaster in Q1. There has been a conveyancing Corona Coaster in Q1 as a monthly activity hit after 4-year high and 7-year low. That title is very simplified, sorry. But yeah. So
this is some research done by Search Acumen, like a big legal searches company.
Yeah.
And it's called the Conveyancing Market Tracker Report. And Search Acumen call themselves the Property Data Insight and Technology Provider. And it gives a set of graphs. The first part is that January was an excellent month for conveyancing with over 100,000 transactions. So it's like the best month in a year. But then obviously the virus hit, and that's really affected it negatively. And since January, we're now at a 7-year low with just 55,000 transactions.
I mean, it's not like it really, these data should really matter anyway, though, because of what's happening, It's sort of like if there was no coronavirus and this were to happen, it'd be worrying, but, well, I'm not sure if it would be really, but, if it is happening like it is and it's slowed down, then there's no real reason for this to be alarming in any way.
Well, there's a couple more things about the data, how the coronavirus has sort of hit different firms based on their sizes. Firstly, it said there was 400 firms had gone completely quiet, i.e. have probably gone bust during this time. Maybe they were already on the way out, and then the coronavirus came along and they thought, oh well, we might as well pack up shop. But the second thing is that the smaller firms have been hardest hit. Obviously, the larger firms have managed to cope, continue functioning better through the virus.
Yeah, I mean, just a couple of weeks ago, I remember that we covered, I do not remember the firm, but we covered a firm that was disappointed felt disappointed towards other firms for not just keeping their people hired.
Yeah. For using the furlough scheme when they probably should have been able to weather it out.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, right now, the biggest firms probably have no issue. I mean, I don't think we've covered a single firm that has had a big issue because of coronavirus. So I mean, everyone knew that the smaller firms were going to be hit, but these numbers feel...
Well, hopefully they make it through with the furlough. Maybe they're quieter because they've had the salaries covered by the furlough scheme. So yeah, it was a pretty tough time for conveyancers all round, is pretty much what the report says. And they're saying the next report in Q2 is going to be even worse than this one.
Well, I mean, it was to be expected, but it's still saddening and even frustrating for some to hear it. Hopefully the families of the people who have been affected by this severely economically are recuperating properly, and hopefully they get back on track once everything blows over. Probably they're receiving the support they need as well. Yeah. And, well, to finish off the lovely podcast, like always, we are bringing you a lovely house, or sometimes mansion, or sometimes country house with marvelous acres of land from Country Life. This time we have a Georgian country house located in Devon with breathtaking views and a colonnaded balcony.
Yeah, it's a Georgian house, it says, near Taunton in Devon, and it's just like a big square, well-built Georgian house, but it's got this interesting kind of colonial style French arches thing on the front, like an upstairs.
Yeah, that's the lovely balcony they have too. It looks very nice. The house itself is obviously quite large. I do believe it says somewhere it has around 5 reception rooms, and I believe they're all on the first floor regardless. This building, this house,
has a flat roof, which is quite interesting.
It has 2 floors, right? Yeah, so it's got 2 floors.
I think.
It's got the ground floor, the first floor, and the second floor. Yeah, so they've got 3 floors, and then 2 floors, and they've got the one they've got sort of I believe it's like 2 separate cottages. I mean, you can see them in one of these images here. They have more one of outside them is, buildings.
It's, what was it called? A coach house. The one on the right is a coach house, and it hasn't been converted into like a dwelling.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, if you have a horse and it's coach, you can take it on over there. You could probably put a car in there, I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's surrounded by lots of trees. It's got a beautiful view out.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
Hills.
They have a marvellous view. It definitely must look beautiful in the evening.
So yeah, 5 reception rooms. It's got this big staircase that winds round and round.
Yep.
Gravel drive. Like the views from the lounge window, it's just crazy.
They are marvellous. The only thing that strikes odd is I have not seen a single detail about the acres of land this house should have.
I saw that it's £2 million. 5 bedrooms.
Exactly. For £2 million, I would expect an acre or 2 of land.
Yeah, it doesn't say the acreage.
I mean, don't get me wrong. All right, the house is wonderful and it's marvellously big.
10 acres.
There you go. Okay, so the house, together with its views, I'm not sure exactly if it's close to any cities or anything, but with its views, with its expanse, nature, and its 10 acres of land, it's going for £2 million.
So it's just these lawns here next to the house, and then the rest of it is woodland, it says. So if you're a tree hugger, this is a perfect place for you.
Yeah, it's a very nice house.
Modern, isn't it?
Yeah, the house in general has both things in it, it feels, because it looks very nice and clean. Some things look like they've been a little remodeled to be modern. For instance, if you can see on this image on the left in this lounge, they have made a sort of glass, a place where you can put objects on it, and it's just carved into the wall with glass panels, so you can put them on there.
Name of that?
A shelf. There you go.
Yeah, it's kind of a shelf, but they used to make them a lot in older houses. Sure, at one time or another, I knew the name of it.
I mean, the kitchen is very modern. It has a lovely island with one of these sort of dangling shelves. You could call it a dangling piece.
Hanging, no?
Yeah.
And just to like stack all your pots and pans on top of. But this is interesting. It's got an Aga, like we've had ones with Agas before, but this one boasts a 4-oven Aga. So it's got like 4 doors in it. So you could cook in all 4 of those ovens.
That's at least 1/4 of the price already, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, well, that concludes this fortnight's podcast number 12. We're not feeling it at the moment. I think it's the lockdown. We're going to try and get back into the rhythm of it as things improve.
If you were looking forward to the 5-minute video, which we had planned for last week, we will be planning to make it next week, just so you know. Working
on the format, trying to, figure out how we can pack in the most info and make it, something that will be useful to people for a long time to come.
Exactly, and we want to make these as quality as we can. So again, sorry, we like Matthew just said, we are probably feeling tired and lazy because of the lockdown. Well, lazy. I feel we're more lacking life at the moment, life force. So pardon us for any mishaps that have happened during this podcast. Again, we do hope you're all doing fantastically. That nobody has been harmed or anything by the coronavirus in any of your families or you yourselves.
Yeah, I hope everybody's okay out there, and drop us a line if you want us to look into anything in particular. If you have any good news sources, there was an earlier article today, like they mentioned all these other places like the Conveyancing Association, Society of Licensed Conveyancers. I think I'm going to check those out, see if they've got any good news on their websites. Because we do talk a lot about property, and I'd like to talk more about law, because this is supposed to be like a conveyancing podcast. But it's not just aimed at lawyers, it's also aimed at anybody who's like looking to get into the property market, buy their first home, move house.
Yeah, we'd love to cover the news. We love covering the news because it informs us, and we also want to inform all of you. That includes people who work and who don't work in the property law market. So we all hope you're feeling very motivated at the moment. We hope that you are liking the podcasts, that you feel informed. And with this, I'll say my goodbyes. I hope to see you next fortnight, maybe next week as well. And yeah.
Yep. Thanks for tuning in, and goodbye.
Goodbye. Have a good one, all of you.